Hello everybody, this is Scott Richens with Infusionsoft. At the end of the mastermind call where we talked about Infusionsoft and QuickBooks, I promised that I would come back with another video where I demonstrated the actual import into QuickBooks. So that's what I want to cover here today in this particular video. I've got QuickBooks up on my screen, I've got Infusionsoft on my screen, and I'm actually going to demonstrate the import into QuickBooks so that you can see exactly how that part is done. You'll notice here on my screen I have both QuickBooks and Infusionsoft open. I want to start drawing some parallels first to connect the dots between Infusionsoft and QuickBooks. Again, where we configure the Infusionsoft connection with QuickBooks is underneath e-commerce settings. That will take us to the e-commerce settings page, and we can then click on QuickBooks. And we have these QuickBooks options right here where we are able to specify different accounts that are related to the income, the expense accounts, the accounts receivable, and otherwise. The thing that I want to stress here again is that these all have to come directly from QuickBooks, and they have to match character by character exactly. So notice here, accounts receivable exists in QuickBooks, undeposited funds, sales discounts, and accounts receivable, merchandise sales, all of that exists within QuickBooks first. Additionally, as I scroll down here, you'll notice I have these unknown type, shipping, tax. Each of these have two different portions: item name default and item name account. The item names must match, again, character for character within QuickBooks. Now this one, miscellaneous item, I don't use in my example here, so I don't have that set up over here in the item list. But for example, shipping I do use in my example here, and this represents the product that will be added to an invoice within QuickBooks. So you charge for shipping in Infusionsoft. How does that translate to QuickBooks? Well, we're going to translate that as a product called shipping, which I have listed right here. I'll also use discounts and sales tax, which you see down below as well. I've got sales tax here and discount further down below. Now, along with each one of these, we also have to specify the default item account that this will be utilized with. So merchandise sales is the one that I chose to connect my shipping charges with. You'll notice merchandise sales already exists as an account in my chart of accounts. Also, if I go over to QuickBooks, let's take that shipping example. Shipping I have set to have that default account be merchandise sales on the product already. So what we want to do here is, let me shift back to Firefox. Again, as I demonstrated on the call, there are two different reports that you need to export. The first one will be, let's go here to reports, order reports. The first one that you need to export is the one from your all sales report, and that exports all of the invoices. The second one that you need to export is your payment reports. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate that here on this call, as I did that at length in the original mastermind call recording, but I do have those particular files set up and ready to go. So let's go open up those files and take a quick look at what they appear as in the IIF file format. I'm going to open those in Microsoft Excel. And again, I've got the sales or the invoices, and another one that I have is the payments. So let's look at those one by one. The sales exports, again, it looks like probably just a lot of junk here. They don't make a whole lot of sense. It is a very complex file format as far as the structuring. You typically won't even need to open these and deal with them, but I just want to show it to you here very quickly. What this contains is a lot of information about your transactions. So this right here is one transaction. This is another transaction here, and this is containing the order information, what products were contained on the order, who it was sold to. And so within here I actually have 6 different sets of orders to 2 different customers so that I can demonstrate that to you. If I minimize that and I take a look here at our payments, the payments now is showing the payments that were made in association with those orders. Now, I have specifically set up an example here where I'm only receiving payments for 4 of those 6 orders so that we can demonstrate that and how we connect those up. But each of these right here is telling us which of those particular order numbers from Infusionsoft that it is connected to. So I'm going to close these files here, and then I will show you how we import those. we want to make sure that the files are closed before we try and import them, otherwise it will cause some errors. Now, the first thing that you always want to do is save a backup. Run a backup before you import every time. Please do. Okay, I'm not going to save the backup right now because I just did before this this recording to save us some time. But save a backup. Then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to open your file portion here, go to Utilities, Import, and we want to import IIF files. And so it will take me a moment here to navigate to those particular files. I am going to navigate to where I have those. And as I import, I'm going to import my sales file first. I will hit open here, and it will begin the import. Now, if it has imported properly, it will say your data has been imported, and there won't be any error messages. However, there will be times where you will encounter error messages. The most common one that will say cannot import an invalid transaction, and it will give you a line number which specifies the particular transaction that you need to look at. Most likely it will be caused because of incorrect account connections that you've made. You're specifying an incorrect account. Maybe you're specifying an income account when it needs to be an expense account or accounts receivable account. So that's most likely what will cause any errors that you have, is incorrect account information. So once I've done that import, I'm going to click OK. And let me show you, if I go to the Customer Center, what has now been added. It added the 2 different contacts here that were within those orders that I just imported, as well as the 3 different invoices for each of them that you'll see here. Okay, so that's the first part that we have now imported. The second part that we need to import is the payments. Now again, you may choose to do a backup right now before you import the payments if you're importing a large amount of orders and a large amount of payments. That's your choice. You don't have to, though. You just need to re-import the orders if there were an error after the payment portion here. So let me go through and do the utilities, import once more, and I'm going to import the IIF files again. This time I am going to import the payments, and I will click open here. And again, this has told me your data has been imported. And I can click OK here, and notice now that has just added 2 different payments right here down at the bottom. Now, there are a couple different options as far as how you connect the payments to the invoices themselves. One of them is to go here to the Receive Payments option. The one that I prefer, just because it may be a preference here, I like to go to the Transactions portion and look at Received Payments. Okay, this is already showing invoices. I see that I have open balances here. I want to look at received payments, and now I can go through and I can apply these payments one by one to the invoices that they're associated with. Now, the nice thing about the way Infusionsoft export this information is if I double click on this payment here, and it gives me a nice web browser. Okay, there we go. If I open that payment, it tells me the amount, but what it's also doing is telling me the reference number here, 2010. Okay, it looks like I didn't update this one properly. I did make some modifications to this file. So right here where it says reference number 2010, what that is telling me is the invoice or the order number that this is associated with. So I do need to go through and apply this payment to a specific order. So I can simply check right here, and it will apply that payment received of $29.99 to the order of $29.99, and I can simply say save and close. Yes. And then I can go to the next one here. Okay. Next one, double click and open that up. And again, QuickBooks is trying to be helpful here. Get more from QuickBooks. I'm not quite sure why that's popping up there. But what I can now do is I can apply this one to order number 2012. Notice 2010 that we just applied one to is now gone because it's paid. So it's only showing me my open invoices to choose from for this particular customer. And I will say save and close. Yes. Okay, again, this is trying to be helpful here. Not now. Great. Next one here, I can go down through, apply the payment. Okay, you're starting to get the idea here. 204, I can apply it there, save and close, yes. And you may get to use some keyboard shortcuts here. If I hold the Alt button along with Y, that will mark this as yes, so I can save some clicks. And then I can apply this one to 206. I can hit Alt-A to save and close, Alt-Y to change the transaction, and now we're all set. All of these have now had their payments applied. So that's really what it comes down to. As you're going through and doing your imports over to QuickBooks, you need to import the sales, or the invoices rather. You then need to import the payments, and you need to go through and connect those. Now again, the reason I like this transactions received payments portion is because then I can just filter by this week to date or this month to date, and then I can sort by the unapplied amounts and go through all of those that have not yet been paid, and just simply apply the payments that have been received. The same is applied when you're using a payment plan, or you're doing or you're receiving a payment later, okay, as opposed to just a payment plan. You could also just be receiving a payment in the future. You might need to go back through and now apply that to an older invoice. Again, those payments in a payment plan would show up right here, and you could just apply that to an open invoice that still had a balance yet to be applied. So that's how you go through and you begin to connect Infusionsoft with QuickBooks. This is the other side of the story, where you are now able to import those, have a full up-to-date record here within QuickBooks. Again, customers and jobs, this is now showing those payments right here. It's applied to each of these invoices. If I open up one of these, you'll notice it now says status paid. It is fully paid. And now you can leverage the power of QuickBooks to do all of your accounting information that you need, that you don't get within QuickBooks, yet you can still use the power of Infusionsoft for all of your marketing and sales. So thank you very much for your time here, and I hope that helps you take most advantage of both of these powerful software features. Thanks so much.